Welcome to Building Fortunes Radio. Make sure you check us out at buildingfortunesradio.com. Along with KISK, our Keep It Simple Circle marketing partners, we are here to help our Humongous AM and Humongous FM radio customers build their businesses and make the world a better place. At Building Fortunes Radio, we know how much your business means to you and the people important to you. So join us to make the world a better place. Spread the word, tell a friend, and go make a difference in your world. Now on to our show with your host, Peter Mingils. Take it away, Peter.
Hello, everyone. Peter Mingils here. You are listening to us on the Ray Gebauer radio show on the Building Fortunes Radio Network. My name again is Peter Mingils. We host this show with Ray Gebauer every Wednesday night at 11 p.m., Thursday morning at 11 a.m. over in Thailand. I'm over in Florida. And Ray has a great pattern, if you will, of doing acronyms. And tonight we're going to be doing the acronym FIRE, and he'll do three radio shows per each letter. So we've done 3 F's and 3 I's, and now we're on the first R, and that means we're a little bit more than halfway through. And you'll probably want to listen to this again, so take some notes. And your strategy might be to kind of listen in the first time, and maybe take a little bit of notes if you wanted to, or not take any notes at all and come back and listen again and take some more notes. And the most important thing is you apply the principles that Ray is going to teach us on these radio shows. So only because I'm going to get a little bit interrupted, I'm sure within any second now, I'm going to turn this radio show over to Mr. Ray Gebauer. And Ray, the radio show is all yours, and I'll be back in just a few minutes.
Well, thank you, Peter. I'm always so happy to be here to share some ideas, some gold nuggets that can make a positive difference for your life. I concluded a long time ago, excuse me, that we all want the same thing in life. We want to have a better life. In fact, one of the verses in the Bible says, I've come that you might have life and life more abundantly. That's what we want. We want to have a better life. And part of that process is going through times of challenges, outside our comfort zone. And I start to say, well, unfortunately, but actually it's for our own good. We need pressure. We need challenges. Otherwise, your brain sort of hits a plateau. It doesn't grow. We tend to decline. So, and I know sometimes our challenges can be overwhelming. I've been there a few times myself, and so I always remind myself with those words, what doesn't kill me will make me stronger. That usually helps. And my other favorite saying from T.R. Beckert is, over, under, around, or through, whatever it takes, I will do. I've been using that quite a bit lately because I've been going through some of my own challenges, and if it doesn't kill me, it makes me stronger. So anyway, so to help you to have a better life and to navigate and handle the challenges and problems that are actually good for us because it helps us to adapt and grow, that's just why I do what I do. That's why I share this. I share it because I care. So we're on the FIRE acronym, and I really like acronyms, which I do primarily for myself, so I can remember things better. It's a way of organizing information, so it's really useful. Acronyms and rhymes, and so we're on the FIRE acronym. The idea of being on fire, highly motivated. So we're on the third letter, which is R, and this is the first of 3 episodes with the word starting with the letter R. And so the word for today, and I've talked on this before, but it deserves more attention. And maybe you didn't hear the episode where I talked about it before a few months ago. But the word is renew. And it reminds me of back in early 2000s, around 2000 or so. I had a really nice house in Bellevue, Washington, right on the water, right on the lake, and Lake Sammamish. But the upstairs needed a little bit of work. So we decided to get it remodeled. That's like renewing the area. And, I thought it'd be like maybe $10,000. Well, it was like $50,000. But we did it, and it was worth it, So whenever you renew something, there's always the cost. Cost of at least time, or effort, or even money. But if you want to have a better life, which consists of being happier and healthy, we've got to think, well, how can I make things better? How can I optimize life? What do I need to remodel? What do I need to renew? And one of my favorite verses in the Bible uses this word in Romans 12:2. It says, "Be transformed by the renewal of your mind." So being transformed, that's a good thing, right? Being transformed. You don't want to be deformed or underperform. You want to be transformed. And so the beginning step is renewing our mind. So I'm going to talk about 3 different areas where we need to renew. But the best starting point and sort of the foundation to renewing and improving your life is renewing your mind. And whenever I say that, I think it's 1974. I was in college, and I came across this book that really enlarged my thinking dramatically. And it's a classic book. It's called Think and Grow Rich. I may not agree with everything in there, but it's really a great book. I've read it more than once. But the point is, you have to think differently. You have to renew your mind. Another word I like that's even better than renew is reprogram. So we need to do subtraction and addition. Subtracting the negative thinking and add the positive thinking. So you got to deprogram and reprogram. But it starts with renewing our mind, which means, how do we think? How can we think differently? How can we see outside the box? And so it more than the information of what we think, it's really more of how we think, how we see life, our perspective. And based on how we see things and how we think, that determines how we feel. That determines our emotions. Are we going to be happy, sad, mad, depressed, anxiety, or happy? Well, all those things have their place and timing. But for the most part, we want to be happy and more productive and make more money, make more of a difference, and feel good about ourselves. And I'll give you a couple examples of I had an instant upgrade or renewal of my thinking. I was in a Mastery of Coaching course with Mike Smith. It's a 3-year course. Back, 20-some years ago, 25 years ago. And paid $25,000 for it. It was the best investment I ever made. And I remember one day, one of these, it was a 3-day event, every 3 months. And one time he was talking about distinctions. And for some reason, that was really a new concept for me. And I remember the next day, I was doing a daily coaching call. And so I wanted to share this. So I was talking about distinctions, and I realized, and I even said on the call, I don't fully understand this yet, but it's really important. So I did the best I could. Understanding distinctions. So initially I struggled a little bit to get a full grasp of it. But that was like a renewing of my thinking. I was thinking differently. What are the distinctions? Like I talk frequently about what's the difference in the greatest commandment, where it says, love God with all of your heart, soul, mind, and strength. What's the difference? It didn't say just love all your heart. So there's a distinction. When a baby is born, it doesn't have any distinctions. It doesn't know the difference between itself and its mother. It doesn't know the difference between its hand and its foot. But as we grow and develop more wisdom and understanding, we have more distinctions. And I remember another time in this group, it's about 12 of us. I had another upgrade, renewing of my thinking. The group, the process was quite confrontational, which was really a good thing. Not always comfortable. But at one time I got confronted with what they were accusing me of being arrogant. Because at the time I was doing really well financially. I had a group of, I think it was like 50,000 people in my organization, which eventually grew to almost 1 million. But anyway, they said, well, you really come across as arrogant. I said, no, I'm not arrogant. Yeah, we think you are. At least you're coming across that way. And, it's like 12 against 1. So I thought, well, maybe they're right. Maybe it's a blind spot, So, and I finally started to see what they were saying. So, yeah, okay, you're right. Just sort of a blind spot. So that was really helpful. I still remember that because it was sort of a shock. Everybody pointing fingers at me. But that was helpful. It was like an upgrade. So it was like renewing my mind. But it doesn't happen automatically. We have to have a better life. We need to be continually reprogramming and deprogramming our mind. We need to ask questions. You can't just blindly trust what you hear, because so often what we hear is not the truth, or it's distorted, or it's out of balance, even if it is true. So we need to give attention to upgrading our thinking. And part of the process for me is spending time learning, reading a lot, listening or watching educational videos. Some of those can be really profound, and like in 1 minute, it can be like a quantum leap ahead in your thinking. So, of course, thinking by itself doesn't do anything, but it positions you to make better decisions and to feel better. So thinking without action is sort of useless. But the action and the feelings are based on primarily how you think. So that's where to start, renewing our mind. And most people don't give that much attention. You don't go around every day thinking about, or going to sleep at night thinking, well, how can I better renew my mind? Well, that's a good question to ask, especially since the Bible says if you want to have a better life, you got to think renewal, renewing your mind. Now, one more piece to this I think is really, really important. Part of this renewing your mind. And I've spoken on this lots of times because I think it's one of the most important things. Part of renewing your mind is seeing life, seeing yourself, first of all, your identity as a lover, in terms of a lover of God and loving of others. However, with the right understanding what love is. So this is about perspective. Love is not a feeling. Even though we say, well, I love ice cream, I love pizza, I love my job, I love my business, I love my house, I love my car. That's not love. That's liking. So love is not a feeling. Love is a perspective consisting of 4 distinctions. I think, all of your mind is commitment, being committed to win-win, what's best for everybody, and loving with all your strength. That's the action element in love. That's creating value. You're doing good. So the most important aspect of renewing your mind is thinking from that perspective as a lover in terms of the 4 C's. Caring, connecting, committing, and creating value. And that enhances and enriches your life and your ability to make better decisions, and you feeling better. So start with renewing your mind. Think about that. How can I renew my mind today to upgrade my thinking? Like the update software. Well, you're sort of upgrading the software of your mind by asking, how can I, renew my mind by thinking different? What do I need to do? Get rid of? What do I need to add? What do I need to do less of? What do I need to do more of? What's missing? So point number 2, not only do we need to renew our mind, which is the most foundational, we also, most people, 90% of people really need to give attention to renewing their health, renewing their body. And actually for me, there's 5 arenas or dimensions of health. You have your physical health, you got your mental health, you got your emotional health, you have your social health, your interactions, social connectivity, and your financial health. So we need to be renewing all those things. But let me spend a little bit of time on one of the most important renewing that we have to do is with our health, because my goodness, 80% of Americans are diabetic or pre-diabetic, which is the early stage of diabetes. 80% needs to be a rare disease. Half the people get cancer. 50,000 people die every day on the average between just cancer and heart disease. Why? It didn't used to be that way because people live an unhealthy lifestyle. Bad food, not enough exercise, not enough sunshine, too much negativity, too much fear, anxiety, or anger, stress overload. So if you want to have a better life, you want to have good health. I'm really grateful that I have good health, not because I'm lucky, because growing up I did not have good health. I had heart problems, I had a lot of allergies. But because, fortunately, thank God, the body can heal itself, I learned to do the right things and, got rid of all those problems. And now I'm here at age 75. When I tell people, they're shocked. Like, oh, man, you look like you're 60 or 65 or 55. Well, yeah, I wrote 12 books on health, and I practice what I preach, But most people don't give their health enough attention. And a really powerful statement that's really useful is this: when you're too casual, you become a casualty. Not just from being too casual when you're driving the car, but too casual with your life, too casual with your finances, too casual with your marriage, too casual with your mental and emotional health. So, like if your house burns down, you could always get another house, or your car is stolen or crashed, but you can't just get another body when your body breaks down. So you've got to give it attention. The greatest wealth is your health. So I'm not going to take time to give you a lot of advice, but I'm just giving you that sense of urgency and importance. You got to make that a priority. One of my favorite words that I came up with, or I selected a few months ago, is optimize. And using it as a question, how can I better optimize my life? How can I optimize my health so that instead of getting weaker, I'm getting stronger. Instead of getting older, I'm getting younger. Instead of whatever, how can I improve? Every day in every way, I'm getting better and better. So you want to give attention to improving your life, to optimizing things, especially your physical health. Stop using fried food. Don't use seed oils like canola oil, corn oil, soybean oil is the worst. You got to be using like coconut oil and butter, and that's just one thing. Get enough movement. Don't sit for more than 30 minutes. You need to get up and stand and jump up and down or walk or go up and down stairs. Get enough sunshine. Most people don't get enough sunlight. So you got to give attention. That's part of love. If you love somebody, you give them attention, positive attention. Well, you already love yourself, but a lot of people, they give away their attention to other things. Too much time on the news or Facebook or whatever, which, it has its place, but when other things that are not as important take like most of your time, you're like stealing from yourself by not being consistent with your highest priorities, which is to have a better life, including your physical life, your physical health, which works synergistically with your mental health and your emotional health and your financial health even. So we want to be renewing our mind, renewing our body, our health, because the body can heal itself of anything. But it's not able to if it doesn't have enough of the resources. It's too much stress overload. So we've got to pay attention to reducing stress if you want to have a better life, which includes, even if you live to be, say, 80, 90, or 100, you don't want to spend the last 20 years in a nursing home, right? You want to be able to still go out and do hiking and whatever else you want to do. So it's precious. We got to guard our health. We got to get it back. 80% of people are diabetic, so it isn't about maintaining their health, it's getting their health back. Almost half the people die from heart disease and cancer. 50,000 a day. That's not acceptable. That's crazy. And anyway, the other thing for your health is, I know this is somewhat controversial, but only take vaccines that are safe, which is zero. There is not a single vaccine that's ever been produced that's safe and effective. They always hurt your health. So this is a big lie that you need these shots. They're all poison. Okay, the third point is, and I've sort of talked about this already, besides renewing your mind, specifically renewing your physical health, we want to think more broadly, how can I renew my life? Especially in terms of relationships. Because even though I'm a holistic doctor, and I'm a teacher, and so I'm really big on food and nutrition. However, many of the studies have shown the biggest factor in longevity and health isn't even your food and diet, which is really up there next to oxygen. Breathing is important too. But it's our relationships. It's our social connectivity, our social interactions. In fact, I think in the last radio show I talked about interactions. How important that is, interacting with people and with God and with nature. So we want to renew our relationships. Some couples say once a year, maybe on Valentine's Day, they renew their vows. So I think it's really useful and helpful to think about, what do I need to renew to have a better life, especially in relationships, especially with the family. And the most important strategy and method to renew things in relationship is going back to what I said earlier, the 4 dimensions of love. If you want to renew and improve your marriage or relationship with your children or your parents or whoever, you got to think of the 4 C's: the caring, connecting, committing, creating value. Ask yourself, how can I be more caring today with this person? How can I connect better today with this person? How can I be more committed for win-win and show that I'm committed? And creating, that's the 4th distinction, dimension of love. How can I create value for them? What good can I do for them to improve their life? And so the more we do that, which is helping others, we're helping ourselves. I read a recent study that people live longer when they spend more time helping other people. probably because it triggers stress reduction. Because when you're doing good, you feel better about yourself. Like value comes from value. So if you're creating value, then that means you're valuable. And a lot of people struggle with this, the thinking, I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not pretty enough, or whatever. I'm not good enough. It's like a deadly poison, mental poison. So when we are helping others by loving them, by identifying as a lover, we love God, lovers of God and lovers of people, by caring, connecting, committing, creating value, which includes attention and appreciation and affirmation. It gives you a better life. You have less stress. You're likely to live longer. And asking specific questions in terms of renewing or upgrading or improving a relationship. Ask, so what's missing? What's missing that if it was added, it would make things better? Or what do I need to reduce, do less of? What do I need to do more of? What do I need to do that I haven't been doing at all? What do I need to add? So there's subtraction and there's addition. And then, of course, this applies to your business. If you have your own business, which everybody should, you don't want to be dependent upon just one thing. You want to have multiple streams of income, and certainly not a job where you could lose your job. The company could go out of business, they could fire you or whatever. Laid off. So, but in your business, how can you improve your productivity in your business? What do you need to renew? Do less of, do more of. So how do you need to think differently? Like Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich. That's a good book to read again. Purpose-Driven Life is really good. There's so many good books out there. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. In fact, one of my favorite quotes is from him. It wasn't actually in that book. It's one of his other books. But he said, and I use this myself frequently, the main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. So the main thing in general is we want to have a better life. To have a better life, you got to think transformation, not just information, but transformation. So how do you transform your life is by renewing your mind and renewing your health and renewing like remodeling your house, in relationships and your business and your whole life. Okay, so there you have it. I'm telling you, you got to think renewal. How do I optimize my life? Starting with your thinking and with your foundation being the 4 dimensions of love: caring, connecting, committing, creating value. I know I repeat that a lot because I want you to remember it. You need to memorize this. You need to think about every day. Like if you're married, you need to think about your wife, a lot, and you need to connect. If you don't think about her, you're not going to do much and not enough. So on a broader perspective, we need to be thinking about how to be better lovers in those 4 C's, those 4 distinctions: the caring, connecting, committing, and creating value, because that upgrades and enhances and strengthens everything. That's your foundation. So there you go. So you want to think renewal, transformation, having a better life, and being grateful in 3 time zones. This is some time travel, I call it, because this enriches everything else too. Being grateful for all of the good things in your past, all the good experiences, all the happy experiences you've had, being grateful for what you have going for you right now, even though you might be in a dark hole or you have really big problems, but there's things to be grateful for right now. You got to focus on that too, more than just on your problems. And you got to be grateful for possibilities in the future. What are your positive expectations? And be feeling right now happy and grateful for what you believe can happen or what you can make happen. You don't want to be passive and say, well, we'll see what happens. Well, you want to see how you can make things better. Be a creator. Create value for yourself. Create value for others. Okay, I think that does it for today. Any comments or questions, Peter?
No, it's always great information and the stuff that people probably want to hear over again. So they can always go back to Building Fortunes Radio, look for Ray Gebauer. This is the first R in the acronym FIRE. And for people that want to get in touch with you, Ray, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Simple and easy. The best way is my phone number. It's 425-333-8472. 425-333-8472. So you can call or text anytime. I guarantee I can't help you if you don't call. And of course, I believe I can help you if you do. I don't charge anything. I'll give you some free advice, maybe some more clarity. But so it's just an invitation. Of course, like I said, doesn't do you any good unless you accept it. So and maybe you need clarity or advice about your business or your health or whatever. So remember, we are here not just to take care of ourselves, but to love others. You love God first and love others, which means we look for how can we help them, including like in your business. It isn't just to make money. You make money by helping more people. And if you want to help more people and make more money, you got to give attention to transformation, renewing your thinking, as well as your health and all of your relationships. Okay, I think that covers it. Thank you so much, Peter.
Great job. Great job. We'll see you next week. We're going to cover the next R. We did the first R. Next week is the second R. And make sure you check out Ray. And I'll make sure his phone number is included in the show notes. And thanks, Mr. Ray Gebauer, for being here. We're going to catch everybody next week. Thanks, everyone.
Yes.
You've been listening to Building Fortunes Radio on buildingfortunesradio.com. Thanks for listening. Building Fortunes Radio is part of the Humongous AM and Humongous FM radio network. Be sure to check out the buildingfortunesradio.com website to listen to your favorite shows. You can also hear us on Humongous Radio and wherever you find your favorite podcasts. It's been our privilege to have you listen in. At Building Fortunes Radio, we wish you the success you deserve and are willing to work for.